What's good, y'all? Back again today, of course, with a very important video, but I want to have some real talk with you guys right quick. Just a little something. So, I've been going through a lot lately, as all of us have. I've been reevaluating life. I've been evaluating life. And I've been coming to the understanding more and more that it's very important for us at this stage in culture, in this stage in civilization, in this stage in humanity, to really build. It's important to build with each other, physically, spiritually, emotionally, right? We have to build each other up. We have to build establishments with each other, right? We have to build healthy relationships with one another. That's very important. And this is just real talk. This is amongst different races, genders, sexual preferences, anything. We need to build. There's a lot of chaos, animosity, and unrest right now. And in order to achieve balance, which is very important, we need balance. We have to constantly try to be productive and build. So I wanted to tell you before I started talking about anything, should I say, that the reason really why I started this channel is to build. I started this channel because I love you guys. And when I say that, many people find it, whatever, but love really is when you care for one person. When you care for someone, you don't want harm to come to them. You are interested in their intentions. You are interested in what they want, what they like. You hope the best for them, right? You don't wish any malicious intentions on them. These are all qualities of supposed love. So what I'm saying is, when I love you guys, even if you don't love me back, it's saying that regardless of the circumstance, I wish the best for you. I want the best intentions for you. I love you. I want your protection. I want the best manifestations in your life, right? And that's what we should want for one another. That's the only way that we can move to the next step. This is what we have to understand. We can't be so intellectual that we forget about the things that we knew when we were babies. We knew this since we were babies, that sharing is caring, right? We knew that we had to share and connect. We weren't worried about the color of the next baby next to us when we were born. Like, let's be honest. It's really an indoctrination that has us to believe, that makes us believe that we are different than one another. But I'm not going to go on a tangent. I just want to let you know I love you, and this is why I started the channel. If you look at any of my videos, every second of it is pure love, pure righteousness, and pure information. Okay, so moving forward today, what I want to talk about is, I want to talk about psychology. Now, psychology, we understand what psychology is, and we understand that in our society, basically, if we don't understand what psychology is, let's say we don't understand what psychology is. In basic terms, psychology is the understanding or the studying or the being of the way the brain operates. So however the brain operates, and the study of this, the analyzation of this, and the realization of this is the psychology. The way the brain operates is the psychology. The way you perceive the things and do things based off of stimulus is based on psychology. We have to understand this. Why is this important? This is very important, okay? Because we are human beings. We are an elevated level of consciousness. We are at a certain level of consciousness that distinguishes us and makes us very distinct from the other animals that cohabit the planet with us. The birds, the fish, the dogs, right? These animals have a certain level of consciousness that allows them to live and survive, but simply that. They survive, and but they don't move forward in progression with society in the same terms that a human being may. So when I say this, I say, as human beings, we look at ourselves at the top of the pyramid as far as the animals. We say we're at the top of the animal kingdom. We are distinguished from them. We're more intellectual from animals. Animals are different from us, right? But then we never take into account the psychology. Animals do not understand psychology to the extent that we can understand our psychology. Follow me, please. If you see a lion in the jungle, or should I say in the savannah, a lion is going to behave how the majority of his species behaves given his set of circumstances. So most lions are going to act the same, in other words. Similarly, with any different animal, most of them are going to act the same given the same set of circumstances. Human beings are the only set of species that reacts differently based on the culture, the geographic location, the language, the religion, based on different ideas of psychology. They react differently to stimulus. So we also have to understand that is because of our elevated level of consciousness, right? Our elevated level of consciousness makes us more aware and cognizant, and to be able to make different determinations and decisions based on the evidence presented. Why is that important? Because as psychologists or psychiatrists, one's job is to dissect and understand the mechanisms of the brain and be able to offer solutions to a potential patient. So we have psychologists and psychiatrists out here making substantial amounts of money from learning the mechanisms of the brain and solely utilizing that information for a one-on-one basis. Meaning, you go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist and they hold a lot of information that is true, but they don't disseminate that information to anyone who hasn't paid a certain price per hour. So if you do not have that price per hour, you cannot understand the way your brain works. In other words, it's important for us to understand the way our brain works. We have enough information. I made a video recently about the age of information. We have enough information to learn certain things about how our brain works. At the very least, we have the responsibility to say, I am a human being, and I now understand that our psychology or the way my brain operates may be unbeknownst to me. Meaning that your brain can operate a certain way without you even knowing it. Your brain, I made a video about cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance basically is when you're presented with two sets of information that conflict with one another and you don't know what to believe, so now you're uncomfortable. So now your brain will tell your body to do things to deflect or to move away from this conversation that's making you feel uncomfortable. So you may just laugh it off. You may just brush it off or say somebody stupid for it. You may actually sigh and roll your eyes, or all of a sudden you're just feeling a certain way when somebody presents some real information to you that you didn't preconceive, but now they have real physical evidence to substantiate their claims, and now you feel uncomfortable. That's cognitive dissonance. That's a psychological term. So now we understand that our brain operates on certain patterns and functions maybe unbeknownst to us. Once we understand that, that's where the real key lies. Then we can understand, wow, aha, I am a human being. I am consciousness. I understand that I am consciousness, because I am not just consciousness living life. I am not just consciousness experiencing. I am consciousness experiencing, then understanding the concept that I am consciousness experiencing. This opens up the spectrum. We have to understand what this means. Now we can utilize that understanding, then move forward and say, now I understand that my brain can operate separate from my body. My brain can operate separate from my conscious intentions. So now I have a job to do. What is my job? Well, my job is to say, let me learn how my brain operates. Let me learn how it is that I personally initially react to certain stimuli. Because once I learn how I operate, then I, as a human being, I have the power to be conscious of that and cognizant of that. Once you're cognizant and conscious of something, you can change it or do something about it, in other words. So what am I saying? I'm saying it's important to understand psychology and certain psychological terms, certain psychological conditions, because if we can identify those, we can have the courage to identify those within ourselves, these psychological impediments, and then we can begin the process of healing. This is where we need to be. A lot of people are doing physical things to people and to themselves because of a psychological condition. Our body is but a mere physical extension of our brain. You cannot get up in the morning without an electrical impulse being sent to your brain and neurons being fired left and right. You cannot. There's no way you can do anything, whether you're not even breathing. Even the fact that you're breathing right now and not thinking about it, that is your body doing something unconscious of you. This is your psychology. This is everything, okay? So we have to understand that there's things consciously and subconsciously going on with us. So I mentioned cognitive dissonance. I also want to mention a certain term. I don't know if any of you heard of Pavlov's dog. I believe the man's name was Ivan Pavlov, and it's another psychological study. The man, Ivan Pavlov, he had a dog, right? And this was in the 1800s. So the man had a dog. He noticed that the dog was salivating. You know how dogs, and the dog was salivating. Saliva was coming from his glands, you know, every time he brought the food. So it's like he understood, okay, wow, this is this dog's psychology. Anytime this dog knows it's about to eat, it automatically starts salivating because it's ready to eat, and it knows it's going to eat, even if it hasn't started eating yet. So even in this dog, psychology was going into play. Even in this dog, a subconscious psychology had the dog salivating before he got the food. So Pavlov took it a step further. Pavlov decided to, every time to feed the dog, of course he would salivate. He introduced a bell. He had a little bell, ring, 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 ring. So every time it was food time, he would ring the bell. Okay, so the dog got used to this pattern. So the dog then started consciously understanding that every time he hears the bell, he's going to get food. So if he already salivated for the food, of course he's going to salivate when he hears the bell because he knows food is coming. This is Pavlov's theory, right? Pavlov's dog. This is the theory of that. This is a study that we need to understand because it's not much different from humans. We have subconscious and conscious reactions to certain things. And we need to understand the psychology behind it because certain people understand that psychology. Certain people that run certain industries do understand our psychology, and our psychology is being used against us. This is very serious. So we need to speak about marketing and things of this. There's multi-million-dollar industries based on marketing. A majority of your favorite brands spend millions of dollars on marketing. They put certain images, certain music, certain commercials together in a way in which they know how your brain usually operates to it. And so therefore, you are triggered. Now this brings forth something very interesting. This means we can be triggered based on stimuli if we do not understand our psychology. So it's not so important to understand psychology just so you can be some psychologist or you can be some kind of, spiritual guy. It's important to understand psychology because if you are not understanding psychology, you can be deceived. Going back to the Pavlov's dog theory, or should I say experiment, he rang the bell and gave the dog food. So every time the dog heard the bell, he started salivating without even seeing food. Eventually, he was able to just ring the bell, and without the food even being present, he salivated. So, taking it a step further, not only can we be triggered by subconscious things naturally, but then certain things can be manipulated to condition us. Because this was called, conditioning. This can condition us to react a certain way. So certain narratives on maybe certain news channels, right, or something of that nature can trigger us to react a way. Okay? Understand that a lot of social media, although while it is good, a lot of social media platforms, your favorite social media platform that starts with an F and ends with a K, that platform where you write your friends on, they take data. This is known. They take data based on the reactions of the people. So they see how many people change their profile picture when some tragedy happens. They see when somebody hashtags Black Lives Matter when something happens. They see how certain sects of people and certain demographics of people react to certain stimuli. They see it across the board. So eventually they'll get to the point where they can introduce the bell and we'll begin to salivate on their very request. Furthermore, as human beings, we become Pavlov's dog. We become Pavlov's dog because we are the dog that is being experimented on with certain sets of information that may be true or untrue, with certain potential promises to get food, but there might be only a bell there, but we salivate upon their request. So right when they ring the bell, we begin to salivate. You get it? I hope my analogy is really striking home because I could say a lot more. I could say it very blatantly if I want. But that's not my path. My path is to get people to understand from a mathematic and scientific approach what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a spiritual and physical war here. Okay? Because Pavlov and his dog were very separate entities. Pavlov and his dog were not on the same level. The dog was but a mere experiment. The dog did not understand what he was being put through. The dog just wanted food. Pavlov is the one who wanted to experiment on him. So going back, I say it again. We need to understand psychology. We need to understand certain terms, psychological terms, because first of all, we can identify them within ourselves and make personal changes within ourselves to help ourselves grow and make better, healthy relationships. But furthermore, we can understand how our brain works so as though we cannot be deceived. So as though we cannot follow our initial reaction to things. Because a lot of the time, our initial thought, our initial reaction, or our initial emotion is to do something, and we do it based on that. But you have to understand that not only can you identify your thoughts, but you then can control your thoughts, and the next step is create your thoughts. That's the step we're going on. We are creating our thoughts out here. So I'm not going to take any more of your time, but of course I love you, and I need you to vibrate higher.